opinion, what are the measures that the government is doing to help those who wants to purchase their house for the first time?
I think ever since the regime of Prime Minister Najib, ever since he made the whole idea about Prima and affordable housing actually captured the limelight of the country. So every year when we have the national budget announcement, we are hoping for something that come out from that. So you can see from day one we have things like Prima, and we have also things like My First Home Scheme, and even things that actually come into like Caga Mas that come in to actually help the first time homeowner to even come out with a deposit, you know. But I think to me these are all addressing the symptom and not actually going down to the root cause of how we can actually ensure that affordable housing is for everyone who deserve it. While I put it like an annual lottery kind of thing, you know, that you actually see it every year, then they announce, you know, how many units they want to do.
Right.
But in terms of execution, there's still a lot of challenges. And then one of the things that probably the government need to be aware, and all your audience need to be aware as well, is that land, for all intent and purposes, is state matter. So there is now also a competition where the state government is trying to outdo the federal government and see who can do it better in that sense. For example, in Penang, there is different government from the federal government, therefore there is also different in direction. So all these are part of the government is doing, but to me it's never enough. And I think that if really the fact that if we need to make sure that everyone have a roof over their head, so it's important that that a long-term plan, for example 10 years national housing policy should be in place, and it should not be attached to a budget kind of thing. So I thought that's something that we need to work on, because we want to ensure that at the end of the day the most deserving people will have a chance to actually capitalize on the affordable housing, and also all these people can be done in the same way. So and then I think we can surely emulate some of the public housing scheme from perhaps Singapore, who have been very successful in ensuring a very high ownership in that country, because in that market 85% of the home are actually public housing, the HDB. So my question is that whether the Malaysian government can emulate that, because once you can consolidate all the demand, then you can actually deliver the houses in a much cost-effective way. For example, if you aim to do X amount of houses to deliver every year, then I'm sure when you bargain to a lot of the suppliers, contractors and all that, it's better for you to have a group bargain rather than a single bargain. So I think we have to shift from the whole idea whether housing is a private sector driven thing or public sector driven thing. If it's a public sector driven thing, then it has to then go into a longer term plan, because the past 60 years, ever since Malaysia became independent, it's always been a private sector thing. So now how do we then change it for a public sector initiative? So I think whoever in power must be considering this in a very, very serious manner.
Alright, so the last question for today is what are the tips that you can give to the millennials or Gen Y if they want to successfully buy their first property or first house?
I think the tip is very simple. Go beyond just yourself. I think the trend has moved towards collective investment. I think I've mentioned it earlier to say that, you know, these days if you have only a single income, it's very unlikely that you actually have the chance to buy. And number two is really get used to the mindset that the very first property you buy is not your dream home. All right, and maybe also consider renting for a longer period, because while it's good that we can own our property, is good in the long term, but you have to also understand the station of life that the current Gen Y millennial are at the moment. Perhaps you are not married yet.
Correct.
You know, perhaps you have not formed your family yet. Perhaps your career is also not stable yet. So the question is that you might move around, you might end up moving to different things. You probably bought something in a location, then later a few years you find that it's too far away from your workplace. So I would ask the millennial and the Gen Y to be a little bit more patient and buy something that's befitting of their current station of life. Like for example, if you are still a single person, you're not committed to anyone, it's okay to buy a studio, right? With a smaller space for that purpose, rather than straight away thinking that I will have a few kids and want to buy a house that's much bigger than your requirement. You know what? Because for all intents and purposes, when you get married, chances are you would have the double income to support the purchase of the bigger house. So for that, then you would then use it for that purpose. So I thought for the millennial, for the Gen Y, also utilize your resources, because I think at the end of the day, there's no shame of asking your parents or your relative for some help. At the end of the day, if you have a way to pay them back, I don't think it's a problem. So list down your available resources, list down what you can get, and adjust your expectation. Like I said, buy what you need. Instead of buy what you want.
Correct. So is there anything else that you would like to tell our audience here at Property Queen?
I think it is important for those people who want to buy property. It's not necessary that the first property that you buy that you need to stay in it. There's also a situation whereby you could be better off renting, right? And therefore don't buy. And what you buy can be used for investment instead, if you can attract a bigger rental yield. So what I'm saying to you is that leave your option open. Doesn't mean that the first property you bought you must stay in it, and because when you stay in it, it's not making you money, so you become a user. But if you invest it and you can gain from the rental and appreciation, it will give you the nicely accumulated appreciation, maybe to form as the deposit for your first home purchase of your dream home. So shift your mindset to that and see how it works.
Alright, thank you so much, Chris, for your time here today. We are really excited to be here today, and we have learned so much from Chris. So guys, if you like this video, thumbs up, follow Chris on Facebook, and we'll see you again on Property Queen. Bye!